How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the unfortunate and tragic death of 47-year-old George Floyd in South Minneapolis while in the custody of Minneapolis police. Now, before I get into the video, before I get into the facts, I just want to say rest in peace to Mr. Floyd and prayers out to his family. I don't know this man, I don't know his family, but to me, that's kind of important to say before we get into the facts of the case. Now, to fast forward a little bit, Mr. Floyd in South Minneapolis was accused of writing fake checks or a fake check singular. The police were called on him, and then they arrive to the scene where he's in the car. I'm not sure if he's driving away, if he's just sitting there, but he's in the car. They pull up on him, and then they initiate an arrest. Now, from what I saw in the video and from what I've heard from people, the police and witnesses, he was resisting arrest. So they are tussling for a while, trying to get him under control, trying to get him arrested. And after a while, they get him on the ground in handcuffs. This is where the unfortunately now viral video picks up. And if you have not seen that video, I'll link to that in the box. Obviously, we're on YouTube. I can't play it here. I'll get my whole channel flagged. But if you want to see it again, it will be in the box, just so we're on the same page and so you understand what's going on. But most of us have seen the video already, and we saw the officer, Derek Chauvin, with his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck, which is what led up to his death. Now, the actual cause of death, I don't know. By looking at the video, I would assume asphyxiation. He wasn't able to breathe. His airway was blocked, but I don't know that to be sure. I'm not a doctor or I don't have access to his medical records, but just from looking at the video, I would assume that he was choked out. He couldn't breathe. That's what he was saying. He can't breathe. Okay. Now, I know some guys will say they can't breathe and lie, but obviously the man was having some medical issues, probably couldn't breathe, and he died. Now, this video, this incident has sparked all types of reactions from everybody. You're talking about people that are on the ground in the community in Minneapolis, the police out there in Minneapolis, your news media types, people online, regular people. Everybody has a reaction to this. Let's start with the police first. They have fired all 4 officers that were involved because it was not just Derek Chauvin with his knee on the guy's neck that was involved. You had 2 other officers that were holding Mr. Floyd down. Okay, not with, excessive force, but they were holding him down. And then there was another guy, I think his name is Tutua, Asian cop. He was standing up, watching the whole situation unfold. So they've all been fired, not just administrative leave. The police chief did a press conference on TV and said that they've all been fired and that it was the right decision. Now, obviously, there could be a few reasons why this happens. The first thing is that you don't want to have civil unrest. We've seen these things before. An officer goes and kills somebody. People think that it's unjust. Whether it is just or it's not just, it doesn't really matter because you're going to have civil unrest and you don't want that. So you got to act swiftly to try and mitigate some of the damage from civil unrest. So that's probably the first thing. The second thing is I think that the officer Chauvin did do something wrong. Now, whether what he did was partly protocol or not, I don't really know, because I have seen that before from other officers that did not result in the death, and it was kind of needed. People say, why did it take 2 or 3 guys to hold him down? He was handcuffed on the ground. Well, from what I know from speaking to police officers, they say that when you have multiple officers on one person, that actually reduces the chance of injury to the suspect. Because if you got a one-on-one fight, it's more likely that the officer may use deadly force or a taser or some kind of weapon, some kind of blunt instrument to get control over the suspect. And if they lose that fight, that one-on-one fight, now their gun is exposed, then that could be a much more dangerous situation. So the whole thing is to have more people on one person to mitigate the damages. Obviously, that didn't work, and Mr. Floyd has died. So the officer Chauvin, I think, will get some jail time here, but I'm not really sure for what. People are saying capital murder. I don't think so, because he did restrain him, which is probably part of protocol, but he didn't do it properly, obviously. Okay, the guy was saying he can't breathe. His nose was bleeding. He urinated on himself. So at a certain point, you got to go from trying to restrain somebody, which is part of your job, to, rendering medical assistance and understanding this is a human being right here. And you can't just have them in a particular place for an extended period of time while they're under duress because they may not be able to survive. So I think chauvinist toast. Now, as far as the other officers, I'm not really sure. I don't really know what their punishment is going to be. They have been fired, but as far as any kind of criminal action, I'm not really sure. But moving right along, let's get into the reaction from people on the ground in Minneapolis. What are you guys doing out there? Protesting for what? A peaceful protest, I'm all for it. I'm all with it. We saw that during this whole shutdown thing. You had peaceful protests. You didn't have anybody looting liquor stores like you have right now in Minneapolis. Okay, what is looting a liquor store, destroying police cars? What is that really going to do? Okay, if you're living in the bad area already, don't know, just assuming you might. If you're living in the bad area already, what is destroying a police car going to actually do to help that area become better? What is destroying your own property, your own liquor stores, your own drug stores, your own grocery stores? What is that going to do to help your community become better? All right. Because I'm sure that this whole thing with the police brutality is not the only thing they're concerned about. They're concerned about economics, jobs, and whatnot. Okay. Typical things in low income areas. So if you're concerned about that, then what's the point of damaging your area to make it less desirable for people to come in and invest into your community? It doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, the emotion needs to be channeled in a different direction. I'm gonna give you a quick story about a thing that I saw in my particular neighborhood when I was still out there in Virginia. Chesapeake, Virginia, there was an Asian, read Chinese, didn't speak English at all, granddad who was playing Pokemon Go with his grandkids. This was at night, and he was in his van driving around playing the game. Because, Pokemon Go, you got to be out there moving around, catching on the Pokemon. So he's out there in his van at night driving around. Now, he was in the parking lot of this rec center playing Pokemon Go. Now, he encounters a security guard, an armed guard. I guess he might have been trespassing or something like that. The armed guard is talking to him, kind of like barking commands, but the granddad does not speak English. So he can't communicate with him. He's kind of like trying to just drive away. And then the security guard shoots him through the glass of his car and kills him. Okay, now what happens when this happens? You have every Chinese person in Virginia almost come to the courthouse in Chesapeake down Cedar Road every day. Suit, tie, they got money, they got a lawyer, they got a PR person, they got every station in the news media covering it. They put up a memorial right there where he was killed. They got flowers, they got pamphlets, they got phone numbers, they got everything. Okay, they did that for as long as it took. And what happens? This guy gets pretty much 25 with the L. He's not gonna call him anymore. Okay, so the moral of that story is there was no rioting, there was no looting, there wasn't even any kind of protest. They followed everything they had to do by the book, showed up in force every day, and it made it happen. They did not loot a liquor store, burn a police car. That's not going to actually help you in your cause at all. All it's going to do is help you vent some emotion, maybe get a few free things, but it won't help you in your cause. I think the guy should face some justice, but I don't think that tearing down your own stores in your own neighborhood is going to get the job done. Now, some people online are having different points of view. Everybody's kind of like going back and forth. People say, oh, you shouldn't bring up black on black crime. You shouldn't talk about wait for more evidence. Well, I mean, if you're talking about a court case, evidence is what you actually need to have it go forward. You can't just count your chickens before they hatch. You can't just say, oh, it's going to be capital murder. And then when it goes to court, there's not enough evidence for capital murder. And you done got all worked up talking about this. And now when it doesn't go your way, you're upset. That shouldn't be what you do. You should just wait for more evidence to come out before you say what the actual charge would be. We could say right now that there should be some justice and that what he did was wrong, the opposite it is. But as far as any kind of actual sentence and whatnot, we don't really know that until we go through the court process and we figure out what the charge is going to be due to the evidence that's presented, due to how he died and whatnot. People talking about, well, this is too much. They're always killing us. Well, who is they? Who are we really talking about? Police interactions with black folks that end in an unjust death are rare. They're very rare. Okay, it's not very common at all, but I do know what is common, and that's the everyday violence upon each other in the black community. You know, that's the Planned Parenthood, that's an abortion. Yeah, I'm gonna go there because That's a thing that doesn't get talked about. Nobody really cares. It's about this here. Like I said, I don't know Mr. Floyd. May rest in peace. I don't know the officer Chauvin at all. I don't know anything about him. People are posting pictures that are obviously fake. Stop all that. Let's just go to the court process and see what happens there. Let's get all of the evidence to come out, the autopsy, the whole thing, and then we can get a better picture of what the charge is going to be against this man. There will be a charge. What will the charge be? I'm not really sure. All that I know is we got to handle this thing in a civilized manner to get a civilized and just result. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that the officer Chauvin was wrong for what he did, putting his knee on the guy's neck, causing his death? I mean, I think we all do, but whatever your viewpoints on that are, let me know in the comments below. What do you think the result of this will be? Will it be capital murder? Will it be manslaughter? I don't really know. I have no idea. Like I said, what he did could have been under protocol, but he did it improperly. It could have not been protocol. I have no clue, none whatsoever. All I can do right now is comment on the facts as we have them today. All right. One thing I will say here as I close, this could have been prevented. Yes, it could have been prevented. If the man does not resist arrest, then he doesn't be here right now. Now, is what happened to him right? No, it's not at all. But it could have been prevented. To anybody that's out there that may encounter police, don't try to be, a hero in that moment. Don't try to fight. I mean, because you got to think about your future. All right. You might have a wife, kids, a family. Think about them. You want to be able to come home to them. If an officer is doing something wrong, doing something improper, fight it in court and get money. That's what I would do. Like if I see an officer doing something wrong, he ain't supposed to be doing, I'm not trying to fight him. I'm trying to go ahead, record it, do whatever I can, go to court and get paid rather than being dead. I'm not going to let my emotion overtake my sensibility. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.